I can't describe to you guys honestly how many years I've been waiting for this video. Like really probably 4 years? Maybe 5. Maybe 5 where I was like, "Okay, mining is cool, but this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense." And one of the things that I always pushed and made videos about and, messaged devs and posts and all those things was about the rock distribution. And what I really hope is that is one of the big changes here, but we'll have to see. So this is Inside Star Citizen, This Life of Mine, which is entirely dedicated to mining changes that are coming soon. They haven't said 319 yet, but I hope 319. So let's see.
Just when we think we're out, you all pull us back in. The mining profession journey has been one of the most collaborative in all of Star Citizen, with no shortage of player feedback and game systems that have been designed for flexibility and iteration. The upcoming Alpha 319 is set to bring with it a whole host of fixes and evolutions to improve the ways that players make their fortunes in the future.
I will say this. How many of you guys are tired of hearing about mining? That I got, like, that's one thing one of my friends said to me, is just like, I am so tired of hearing about mining though. Right? And what I kind of like is they went to salvage and then they came back to this. So I think the timing of it is okay. But yeah, I did hear that as like feedback for people. I'm not, because it's I think probably the most important profession. It's where if the game is going to end up being where I want it to be, everything kind of starts with mining and salvaging. Material gets turned into other things and people fight over resources, right? Like, it all begins here, so it's a really important feature. But I think people may not understand that kind of stuff, because you could see somebody in Twitch chat saying, "Meanwhile, trading has been broken for 5 years." And they apply another patch for mining. They just did the cargo refactor. What are you talking about, right? Like, come on, dude. So it all ties together, right, into what should be something that's a lot better. So my fingers are so crossed. I'm so sorry for the long intro, but I don't think you understand how much this means to me. I've barely mined in the last couple of years because I just am so over it being as broken as it was. And as they added more things to it, they made it worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, so the last time we said that we don't do anything about mining anymore and we leave it at rest. I think it was even when we introduced the mining gadget, so it was quite insane. A while ago. And yeah, well, here we are, sitting here again and explaining to you why we actually had to retouch or wanted to take mining to the next level. So here we are, and giving you something more to enjoy with mining gameplay.
I think because they broke it.
So when we left mining, we thought it was already in a good state. So even introducing with the mining gadget, we introduced from our perspective, a nice little different approach on mining. So you have to leave your ship, attach the mining gadget to the rock, then get back into the ship, and then do your mining procedure. And we also thought that it will help with difficulty, so that especially new players can buy a mining gadget to bring down resistances of the rock drastically, so they have an easier experience, mining experience.
I'm gonna explode.
What we did...
Okay, what he sounds like he's gonna say what we didn't realize, but you did, because you got all the feedback you needed in PTU. And this is the one thing I don't like about the way they do things. And this could just be like, hey, this is how game development is, Mike. You don't understand game development. But you got all the feedback you needed to know that mining was in a horrendous place after doing mining gadgets, yet they continued on with it and still believed in their mind that what they were doing was good. Right? And that's the thing. It was so blatantly obvious that adding mining gadgets, making things easier was going to be a problem. Like right away in the mining gadget video, Torsten said, mining's too hard. Mining was too easy. Mining was too easy at the time, and they made it even easier and more broken. Right? So that was the thing at that moment, that it was just like, you had all the feedback you needed to know that this is what you needed to do a long time ago. But they wanted to see it play out because I think they believed that they knew better than us in this scenario. And it just, I think most of the time they're probably right, but in this case they were just dead wrong, you know, and it was not a good situation, especially coming into the Argo Mole. It was terrible.
Didn't have in mind is that we also have to facilitate expert miners that still need a challenge there.
Yes.
So what we tackled is a general balancing pass. That is, we adjusted all the items, all mineable heads, all mining heads, all sub-items that you attach to the mining head.
There are expert miners,
gadgets,
like you can laugh.
Everything now has different values. We cleaned it up drastically, so it is now clearer what are the positives of what mining head, what are the positives of a sub-item, what are the positives of a mining gadget, and what are the negatives that come with it.
Cool.
And this is more important now because we also touch the minables themselves. So all the minables that you find now have different values in terms of their resistance, in terms of their instability. So what we try to do is match certain mining heads with certain materials or resources that you find. So you will have mining heads that go better with, for example, aluminum, and others that might go better with iron. And this directly leads to the next thing. So we introduced finally iron, and iron is a ship-exclusive mineable for now. We also introduced some new resources like genelite. Genelite is exclusively found in caves, and it's only mineable
for
with
hand mining.
FPS. And the reason why we wanted to introduce that is that, like, from the data that we gather from all of you playing, is no one uses FPS mining as a game mechanic outside of the prison. So we wanted to make it more attractive to players to use a multi-tool with a mining attachment other than just having it attached because you found it. So
nice.
Right now,
all right, he's going to keep going, but I'm going to pause it because I want to go back to the part where they talk about the stats on the rocks. This is like, I really hope, because I know that this is not in this video. There's no chance. But this is really setting up for if Tony Z ever wakes up and does anything with Quantum. This is really setting up for that, right? So when you go out and you're going to try and figure out what you're doing that day, and you're a miner and that's what you're like doing, you're in a mining org or whatever, right? If your org or people that you're working with, you have a contract with, whatever, they're looking for certain materials because they're crafting certain things with those materials, then you're prepping, you're getting out certain lasers, you're getting certain gadgets, you're getting certain consumables on those lasers that are effective for that specific material. That is a big deal. That takes mining and brings it in line with everything else in Star Citizen that I like. Is like, I would like to do this today, so I'm going to prep for this. So I'm going to go ROC mining on Ariel. Well, I better bring a hot suit, right? It's like kind of that scenario, but deeper, which is really good. So that's why I was so excited about that.
Now we want you to try out the new caves, find the new mineable, and I can guarantee you that it is really profitable to bring that with you. It's not as profitable as the mining as a profession, because if it's your day-to-day job, but it's like a nice golden nugget that you can find on your exploration tool.
Yeah, that's
So
really smart.
next time you are in the caves, better bring a mining attachment with your multi-tool. We additionally cleaned up the way that resources are
I will at the end,
distributed
Elliot.
throughout Stanton. And this is because we want to make resource gathering future-proof. With the introduction of crafting that will come further down the road, with its first implementation with the hull scraping gameplay, so you already got a glimpse of it. But what is important there is that we get a better control of where to find certain materials. And
even
also,
better.
From our perspective, it's more interesting for players to know where they have to go to find certain material types. So what we did is we defined standard materials and quality or like rarity-based materials. Standard materials are something like copper, like iron, like something that you know from real life is used in basically every item that you find around. And those have distinct locations now within Stanton. For example, aluminum you can only find around Crusader, where copper you can only find around Microtech. Which, so as a disclaimer, this can change during our development, but
of course,
just to give you an idea that we now have distinct location where you can find these defined standard materials.
Okay, that is really good, but also really like setting the expectations of the next year or so, guys, is they are putting it on different planets in the Stanton system this way because you're only going to be playing in the Stanton system for a while, right? So I love this change. They're temporarily making the game interesting in the only system you're able to play the game in. So there's a plus and a minus to take from that, I think, is that they said, hey, it can change, because obviously I don't think that that's the long-term plan necessarily. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it sounds to me like this is the short-term plan to keep things interesting while we wait.
Doesn't mean that you cannot find the standard materials elsewhere.
Okay.
There are chances of you finding them elsewhere, especially asteroid belts get more attractive because they have a more diverse spectrum of materials.
Oh, fuck.
But on the planet side, like you
Bad
know from
decision.
Earth, we just have very distinct locations where you can find those rare earths. And what we also introduced is that...
Well, maybe not bad decision, because people like pirates and stuff are still going to camp the places that you have to refine. But the moment that you get in ship-based refining, what's going to happen? Everyone's going to be in the Halo. So I think that kind of kills mining piracy a little bit, but yeah. There's lots in the shot. Unfortunately, I made a mistake and opened this in Chrome. If I go back, I don't think we're going to be able to continue to watch the video. So at the end, I'll go back to the freeze frame in the asteroid belt, okay?
Certain more rare or rarer materials associated with them. So this gives you a glimpse of where we are going, where our intention is to have star systems with exclusive materials that you need for your crafting. So you have to travel to a certain star system to get the material that you need for whatever item you would like to create.
Nice.
There are two more things that we updated. So one thing that we noticed is that mining is a difficult profession.
Sure.
And we want to make the obstacle less threatening for new players. And that means that we improved our mining UI a little.
The old mining UI was one of the most develop UIs in the game. It was one of the most readable already, but
What did he just say? It was the most readable? My friend. I guess that isn't saying much about the rest of the UI, because turn on your mining laser while using it, and you can't see shit. And we all know that you guys refuse to put drop shadows on things because you think they're ugly. No. I am sorry. I agree. It's one of the most developed. It's one of the things you guys put the most time into, but it's still horrendous.
we discovered some improvements we could add to it to make it more enjoyable to the players. But we had like some slight issues with, you could say, clutter, basically, with the center part of the screen with too many elements flashing. So for the next update, we moved some elements together. For example, we moved the mining throttle next to the power charge of the asteroid.
Oh,
since
the throttle's
those two elements are semantically related. We've added a range bar to the left with all the ranges you need to keep in mind.
Range is important, but not this much on your UI important, I don't think.
Like scanning blast radius and mining range of your head. We shuffle less relevant UI elements to the bottom of the screen to clear up space on the center part and on what you are looking at. We've also changed the display of scanning to make it less disruptive to the mining experience, and we've improved a little on a bunch of things like color and element positions within each card of the screen to make it more readable.
Okay.
So now it is easier for you to see what distance you have to keep from the rock, what dangers you encounter on the rock, how your mining head actually is set up right now, and all the parameters that you need to know if the rock that you are targeting is actually mineable. For that, we even added a little helper that basically tells you, hey, it is very doable, it's an easy mining approach, it's a challenging mining approach, or it's an impossible one. Because now there will be impossible one. And this is where our last change for this update comes
Talk about the
which
mole.
is multi-crew mining.
Yeah.
We thought that the size of the rocks and the power it required for multiplayer mining was sufficient, but especially
again, how could you think it was sufficient? I feel like that there was like so much out there to let you know that it wasn't, and I don't want to be critical too much because I'm so happy that they actually listened to the feedback, but it was never sufficient. It was always problematic from the moment this vehicle came in. Literally from the moment the vehicle was made, it was not in a good place. The mole never needed 3 people on lasers. It only ever needed 2. Ever. It was the most pointless vehicle in the game. Everybody solos it. It's a joke.
Especially with the mining gadgets, you could bring down the resistance so much that like multi-crew mining wasn't as needed anymore as we actually intended. And that's the benefit of having a game in a live environment where you, as the community, create videos, create reviews, post like comments on the spectrum, that you are basically not as satisfied with the gameplay as you would like to be. And this is now our opportunity, and we saw the need in it to make it
really
even more
happy they did it,
future-proof for
honestly.
all the upcoming systems. So we wanted to encourage players using the mole in a cooperative environment. And what we think lore-wise was that what makes sense and was an easy win for us was that because you are sharing one system, one computer on your mole, you basically have a way to synchronize your mining lasers. And by that, you get the benefit while sitting in a mole to decrease the instability of the targeted rock drastically. So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same rock with, like if you have 3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability. So
What? That's a weird way of doing it. Let me think for a second, guys. So there might be some dead air. Laser frequency sync. So yeah, it's some lore reason behind going mole better, 3 prospectors bad. And he also did mention that it was an easy win, and it does seem like the easy, almost cop-out way of doing it. My suggestion was different than this, but what I did notice, and something you may not notice, and it might have been due to the type of laser that they were using and things like that on the prospectors, is that the resistance went way down when using multiple lasers. So there might be a give and take there that he didn't mention. But the instability went up. I don't think that that's necessarily an improvement on the mole as much as it is just nerfing the prospector. And I don't necessarily think that's what it needed. Just for reference, guys, what I honestly said and thought that the game needed to fix this issue is creating rocks that and again, when you think about it, it doesn't change the fact that 3 prospectors are better. Is creating rocks that require significantly more power and up the power on the size 2 lasers for the mole. So then you would need 4, 5, 6 prospectors to do what 1 mole could do. That would have been the easy win for me. And they went a different route to get to the same place. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can listen back to it. I hope I don't get a never-ending loading here. So let's listen back.
That would make sense and was an easy win for us.
Easy win.
Was that because you are sharing one system, one computer on your mole, you basically have a way to synchronize your mining lasers. And by that, you get the benefit while sitting in a mole to decrease the instability of the targeted rock drastically.
I wonder if the only way to decrease instability is by doing this. That would be weird as well.
So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same rock with, like if you have 3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability. So we wanted to make sure that it's still solvable. If you are an expert miner, you can counter the instability there. But it's
okay, so you can counter the instability if you use like gadgets and other things. So you can still do it with the prospector, but there's more buy-in, there's more time. It makes sense to use the mole. I will take it, but I just think using the system of just having more powerful lasers,
more effort that you have to put into it.
Made more sense to me in my brain.
Where with you have a high instability rock, and you have 2 friends or 3 friends, you better pick your mole over the 3 prospectors because you will have an easier mining experience picking the mole. And there's one
Okay.
more thing that ties in with the difficulty or increase of difficulty that we intended with this update. And that basically brings us back to the resources and the update that we did for the resources.
Talk to me.
Something we didn't have before, but we will now introduce, is that each resource composition will have an effect on the weight or on the mass of the mineable. So that means there are certain materials that are heavier and therefore harder to crack. So you definitely need to bring friends to be able to crack the stone with the super dense materials.
So they did
comparison to
it's weird because they could have just done this, but they must have found in their testing that it wasn't enough in some way, and they had to do more.
Resources that are less dense and are more porous, so you will have an easier life or easier mining approach with them. This will not make single-player mining worthless. It will make it more interesting, for sure, because like we also will update a little bit of the trading, so
oh shit,
it is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less the less rare materials because of the redistribution of the resources.
did Tony Z
Suddenly
wake
there
up?
is a demand at the other side of the universe for aluminum, for example. So you might
So there might be demand for, let's say Daymar has aluminum. What's really far from Daymar, maybe ArcCorp moons, will have demand for it to buy it.
wonder when this update will be available to you. And I have some good news. So you might have seen the content that we put in this video already. So it is already in a playable state for us.
I think
but
it
not
said in
only
319 at the bottom.
right now we are on a good track to have it inside or have it part of the next major release after our 318 patch. We are very confident that it will be in 319.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we
Okay.
learned that resources are being redistributed throughout the Stanton system and include new additions to vehicle and FPS minables. That the UI continues to evolve and improve the player
Shut up about
experience.
the UI.
And that balancing changes to everything from heads to consumables to gadgets and to the resources themselves means that Alpha 319 will bring a thoroughly updated experience to miners when it arrives later this year. Now, as for Alpha 318, it's available to all players now in OpenPTU, so don't miss your chance to get in there and bang on the pipes, as it were, to help us get things to a live release. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
Yeah, that was an S tier ISC. So, okay. First off, Elliot wants me to share something with you. He said if I'm not nice to him, he's going to delete mining. Okay. So we need to all be nice to Elliot. All right. Next step is I do want to go back to this in particular.
Chances of you finding them asteroid belts get
Okay, harvestable destroyer, yellow asteroid ring, spawned entities, salvageable debris, Avenger Titan. There's different types of mineable rocks. And you can see all the things that are there. So there's Titan, Reclaimers, Infernos, and 3 different types of minables there. It's interesting.
more attractive
I didn't
because
see
they
much else to really look at from that perspective. But the for me, how I honestly and truly look at this, guys, is you'll hear it at the very beginning of the video when he talks about crafting. I think there's some like initiative going on that this is setting up for the future. And he talked about, future proofing and things like that. I think that there's some real big push for crafting. I remember seeing the refinery thing, You know, I might be on copium, okay? So you can make fun of me or whatever, but it really feels that way. That they went, all right, you know, mining's going to be at the base of this, and we need to get it in a good place, and then we're done. And I think that this was their like final attempt. Let's get it good, and then let's really focus on crafting. I mean, Torsten, I believe, is the guy who posted on Spectrum, so I think he had a big hand in it, in bringing crafting to the salvaging system, right? So I think it's a big initiative for him and their team, and I really hope that that's what's going on there. Overall, love the video, love the way they're distributing the materials. The density thing was a huge thing at the end for me. The mole being better at group mining than the prospector is interesting. They took a very interesting take at it. I will reserve my thoughts on that. And the, you know, it sounded to me like Jared asked if they killed solo mining. I think they may have. Like truly and honestly, that's the feeling that I get right away. Is I think they might have killed solo mining a little bit, and we'll have to see the value of solo mining versus group mining. But killing it might be a good thing, because you're going to still be able to solo mine. It sounds like you're still going to be able to make money, but you're not going to be able to mine that rock over there ever. Never. And that's what I think Star Citizen needed. Is it needed the moment of, no, you cannot ride in your mole by yourself and break that rock. And in the end, that's all that matters. They may have taken a different road than I would have to get there, but I think it achieves the same goal. So here's to hoping, here's to coping, and we'll see what happens in 319. But overall, I think that this is a good approach, and I think we're going to be in a good place with mining. And now it's a matter of creating the reasons to mine. You got mining in the place it needs to be. Now we need to create the reasons to mine, Tony Z. It can't just be about watching your money go up. It's got to be useful. We got to start using it. And that's where I take the most takeaway from this video is we're doing this for crafting. And that is my takeaway from it. And I'll take it.